Welcome, everyone. This is episode 4 of VR Jungle, a Havoc podcast. I have here Dan from Saberpunks, and as you all know, I am Geraltzy, the host of this and founder of Esports Havoc. I hope you all enjoy this. I'm going to go ahead and let Dan go ahead and take over, talk about his game, talk about himself.
My name's Dan Little. I've been a longtime developer, but I've kind of recently delved into this world of VR content creation and development. Our company started making Saberpunks, which is a VR fighting game, kind of in the spirit and vein of like Soul Calibur, where you have weapons-driven combat, but really taking cues from a lot of the current VR content that you see that's kind of rhythm driven. You have Beat Sabers, like the biggest one. Synth Riders is very similar, but the idea is that you're making the motions and attacking, and it creates projectiles for the opponent
Yeah.
to also block and deal with. We wanted to really give a true fighting game style. So instead of doing the floating hands, the classic kind of VR
Mm-hmm.
move, we wanted to have fully fleshed out characters, fully IK rigged bodies, and let the users feel more kind of in tune with the characters and who they are. And I
Yeah.
think fighting games truly live and die by their characters themselves. So we've been putting a lot of energy into creating not just like these weapons and styles. We also wanted to create backstory and a world that it can live in.
Awesome.
Yeah, I've been kind of focused on authenticity. I wanted the weapons to feel right.
Mm-hmm.
So I actually took a sword fighting class. I went to a HEMA.
Yeah.
Was in the area. We would go and, pick up long swords and learn how they're
That commotion, huh?
used.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so we've developed, I think what I'm really proud of in this game is an innovative combo system
Okay.
where, fighting games, you've always got that like button combo
Yeah.
and joystick. But what's so different about VR is, in a fighting game, you press the buttons and they animate and they do prescribed things. But
Mm-hmm.
now we have to kind of invert that concept. We have to say, like, what are the players doing? And how do we translate that into a gameplay component? So we started tracking the directions that they
Okay.
would cut with the weapons. So simplifying it to kind of an 8 point uh, diagonals.
Yeah, I think I
Uh,
saw that on your Discord actually. There's math to it, huh?
yeah, it's very much like a traditional combo input system that it's going to give you a little bit of leeway. So there is some overlapping
Uh-huh.
combos, which is can get kind of interesting when you
Yeah.
really dive into it. But the idea is that it will also track which hand you use. So if you use your kind of your offhand, right, your non-primary hand, it's going to have actually um, a different behavior
Okay.
because it's your left arm. It's moving from the outside in. And so that's vastly different than my right arm doing the same motion. I have to like kind of turn my arm upwards. It's going to be different with different weapon shapes.
Oh,
Like we have
really?
claws
Okay.
that have the blades coming straight out from the fingers, and your cutting motions are now changed. So each character is really meant to feel different,
That's
but the
awesome.
combos support that. The combos
Yeah.
kind of encourage your motions to be a certain way, and we took those lessons from sword fighting classes and built them into the sequences
Yeah.
that you perform. Um, our kind of my favorite one is actually based off a Portuguese saber fighting manual, where you are actually clearing a room.
Uh-huh.
You, as an individual, are up against many opponents, and how do you do that? So one of the things that you do
Mm-hmm.
is a cutting sequence that involves one side of an like your kind of defensive stance.
Yeah.
You're attacking here, and then you move over and you cut on the other side, in the same pattern. So our combos are built to kind of reward those with
Mm-hmm.
electricity and spinning attacks and things that really would enhance your offensive capabilities, right? Your ability to kind of dig through their defenses. Because when you're holding things up, it's very much easier to like catch something and block than it is to actually
Yeah.
create. So we wanted to kind of give you a way to break through somebody who's really like, turtling up, as they like to say.
Yeah. And so, when you were doing this, did you ever watch like a whole bunch of Kill Bill? You watched the.
Of course. Oh, Afro Samurai was
Okay.
probably our biggest influence because we wanted that cyberpunk
Mm-hmm.
and the hip hop.
Okay.
We went really in depth when it came to the soundtrack. That's another thing I'm very excited about. Is we got to work with actually a fairly well known MC,
Uh-huh.
a hip hop artist by the name of Bo Young Prince, who has been on Madden,
Okay. That's awesome.
Forza,
Cool.
The Sims. He recently was featured in Enter the Spider-Verse
Okay.
soundtrack and the Coming to America. Like he's been doing a lot of stuff in video games and in kind of this anime pop culture.
Uh-huh.
He was the right fit for our game, and a friend of mine knew him, and he came out to my house and played the game, and he said, "I'm in. I get it.
That's
This
awesome.
is yeah." So he made 5 tracks that were actually like lyrically tailored to
Yeah.
the gameplay, um, and he got the vibe. Like he really, if you listen to the songs, you can tell that he knew kind of he was on track with what we were
Yeah, he
trying
met your
to.
direction, huh? That's
Yeah,
awesome.
yeah, and it was a wonderful experience because that's not what I expected out of this journey when I started it.
Yeah.
When I was looking at it, I was expecting it to be much more dry and logical driven, but to see the artwork come together, the
Mm-hmm.
visual components and how that feeds into sculpting, right? The three-dimensional manifestation of concept art
Yeah.
is something I just am in awe because I can't draw a stick figure. So to see these masters work, it's just a really interesting experience.
Yeah, so the whole entire diagram that you said that this is structured on for your combo system, whose
Mhm.
idea was that to manifest this system? Because you even show in like the Discord and everything, pretty much the quadrants that you're in. Like, how do you
Mhm.
sit down there and be like, this is what's going to work for my combo system?
So it definitely was like working backwards. So we wanted to have a combo system, and how does that come out of VR? And so I hired a game designer who especially is passionate about fighting games,
Mm-hmm.
and he's active in Blaze Blue communities and some of these larger sets, and he has a degree in game design. So he was able to take what I conceptually wanted,
Mm-hmm.
which was like I want it to be stylistic and flow. And he's like, we can structure this in a
Awesome.
way that's repeatable, and you can. We built out 12 different combo sets and weapon shapes
Yeah.
because it's not just the combo that drives it. It's the way that you cut with the
Mm-hmm.
blade of the weapon. The weapons have bladed edges and then they'll have dull edges. So
Okay.
you can't cut, you can't just like switch that. It is
Yeah, for
spam
sure.
deterrent. Yeah, to try to get you to be more thinking about how this would be used as a slicing weapon. We track that.
Awesome.
Yeah, and it really feeds into, okay, this weapon is faster because it has 2 edges, and when I cut up, I can immediately return instead of having to like turn my entire arm around to
Yeah.
get back to the same edge. So we have a way of controlling a weapon's speed simply by the shape of it. That I think really makes it feel like you're in a sword fight when you're paying attention to cutting angles and your direction and your hand
Mm-hmm.
motions. It just feels great. And like I said, I had the sword fighting class. My instructor, brought over about a dozen
Yeah.
weapons and put them in my backyard, and we
Were
were
were they
swinging them
real or were
around.
they wooden?
Yes,
They were real.
they were real.
That
Yeah,
is.
he has a monster. Like I think it's a 10 foot broadsword, it's unbelievable. And since we have a system where we're attempting to kind of simulate the two-handed weaponness, but not the traditional jointed way.
Yeah.
I feel that it's there's something missing in it. So what I
Yeah.
did was I created a battery system that would charge the weapon if you kept your hands close. It gave you a little more freedom of motion,
Okay.
um, but still kind of has that I have something heavy because I have to keep my hands together.
Mm-hmm.
So we're trying out some new things. We do want to make that fast-paced feel. And some of the things traditionally that people use to slow down weapons of non-existence, right, is
Yeah.
they use a physics slow. And we found that that just didn't really jive with what we were trying to do. Instead of slowing down the weapons and forcing you to change your behavior, we
Yeah.
actually impacted the behavior of the projectiles. The things that are thrown at the opponent can be changed in their speed and increased in damage. So you can kind of get that trade-off of fast and slow without actually influencing how a person moves their hands. Because really, the closer you can stay to being synchronized
Yeah.
is so much of that feel of realism.
So you're I think you were telling me before that you're basically always on some type of like either top of a roof or some type of platform where you're holding people at 2 points where they have to fight each other, and if you get
Right.
too far off of one point, you can actually fall off and die,
You will
right?
fall off and lose.
Lose the
Yes,
match.
that is true. So that gets interesting because all of our projectiles are not smart missiles. They essentially know where you are at the time that they come out, and they auto aim to where you are,
Okay.
but you can move out of that path.
Okay.
So they won't chase you down, right? So you have actually a lot of ability to move your head
Mm-hmm.
and dodge. It's still the best strategy, just not get hit. But
Yeah.
if you block, you get like a special meter fill. So
Awesome.
it's
Okay.
encouraging you to block.
It's encouraged you to stay in there blunt force and then trying to avoid it, so you don't get any meter fill for actually ducking and having it go past you. Then.
Correct.
Okay, so you
Correct.
okay.
So there's an offset because you're putting yourself in a dangerous situation and potentially you could miss a block,
Mm-hmm.
get hit. But the trade-off is that you can actually use your ultimate weapon, which gives you a temporary shield and enhanced attacks. So your basic attack becomes some kind of
Mm-hmm.
character defining special attack, like with
It's called like basically what games call like an ultimate, like something
yeah,
like that in formality.
yeah.
So with this, so every character is probably going to have their own structured ultimate power that they're going to throw at you. Now, can that
Mhm.
be blocked, or is that kind of just like, oh, you might as well just try and find a way to duck out of this because it's going to be a very strong hit?
Right. And the idea was that we wanted it to be a temporary burst of,
Something, yeah.
an improved offense,
Uh-huh.
right? Uh, but that can actually be interesting. So we have one type of attack that's a stun,
Mm-hmm.
where it's kind of lightning charged, and if you get hit by it, your weapons stop working. You can't attack for a short amount of time. So in a way, it's a defensive maneuver because I can't attack you. I haven't taken any additional damage, but being out of the game for a few seconds
Yeah.
is enough to be a significant. I mean, anyone who's played a fighting game gets the concept, but we also added things that are a little bit new in concept because we have a directional blocking system. The
Mm-hmm.
way the slashes are shaped, if it lines up with your sword, it's not going to block.
Okay.
Just like if I were to have a sword and you were to chop straight down at me,
Mm-hmm.
I can't block it like this. I got to catch it at an angle. So we designed our slashes and systems to work angled. And if it's coming in, you have to block it and catch it. So now we have spinning attacks
Okay.
that are a bit harder to line up because you see it's coming in and
So
you're
it's
not
just
quite
it's
sure.
kind of a luck of a draw. Like you got to make sure
In a
you
way,
hit it. Yeah.
and a skill set too.
Yeah.
You learn how they turn
Mm-hmm.
and you kind of learn how to catch it so that it doesn't come and line up when it lands. So spinning attacks are one way. We have a strong attack, which is essentially required to use both weapons to
Okay.
block when it hits, as long as neither of them are parallel, right? So if I'm blocking with my X
Hmm.
and one of them lines up to the strong, that's not going to work. So you have to still like double catch that
Yeah.
in a way.
So you're saying it has to be at an angle slash. It can't be exactly straight on it. It just has to be something that's coming, that's creating like an X or something like
Mhm.
that, right? To kind of
That's right.
neutralize it.
Yeah,
Okay.
because conceptually, our mission statement has been melee at range. We
Hmm.
want to put distance between two melee fighters and kind of use these projectiles as the blocks,
Yeah.
is what we've been calling them, because it's something that you have to block.
Hmm.
And it's much like putting two Beat Saber players pointed at each other
Yeah.
and have them create the notes that
Hmm.
travel, which is why I don't like to use the term rhythm game when describing this,
Okay.
because it does imply too much that the music is in control. It's
Hmm.
kind of the opposite. We built our music to react to the events in the game, so we are
Okay.
building in some rhythm components, but
Okay.
it's more of just getting that atmosphere, the energy levels right, depending on what's happening.
So with this then is it PvP, PvP and PvE?
At launch, we intend to have a bot. Currently, it's PvP in its form right now on our kind of pre-alpha. But when at launch, we intend to have a single player bot arcade,
Hmm.
and PvP is really the focus. But from our initial research, we found that most people who enjoy fighting games don't tend to click the online button right away.
Okay, they want to know the
They want,
characters, at least see the back history,
yes,
and that's where your PVC is going to be coming in. Is that they get to actually learn something? Because I know the biggest thing that I play, for my competitive team and stuff, we're not going to just pick out some random team without studying them. We're not going to just go into this battle and then make fools look out of each other.
yes.
And so I can definitely see that. So obviously with the PVC component of this, that's where you're probably going to be thrown in more of that rhythm structure. And is every computer NPC that you're playing at that time, are they predestined to do the same thing every time?
So I am more of a believer of the probability and applying weights to chance so that you can have a difficulty level.
Mm-hmm.
So having a optimal decision always available to the AI, and then a percentage of whether or not it will choose to do the optimal decision. That's kind of the route that we're looking at right now. But I do have something that I am playing around with where I would like to do some more neural net generated AI,
Mm-hmm.
something that's more watching how people
Okay.
play and
Yeah.
learning from that. Because I have a bit of background in um, kind of the machine learning scope. So that's just kind of something that I've put on the back burner, but I'd love to see something in VR that could kind of mimic our behaviors when wearing a headset and having two hands. That should boil the problem down a little bit. And since we're all, in this game, there's no locomotion, it's
Mm-hmm.
mainly just driving. How am I stopping what's coming at me?
Okay.
I think that it would translate into something a bit more of an automated AI structure.
And is that so? Is it different for every character that you pick? Say if you pick like a katana player compared to like a claw character, is every do you take them on a story with them as they learn the character, or?
So that's probably not going to be our first release state.
Mm-hmm.
I really do want to tell the backstory,
Yeah, I
but
love
that's going to
backstory
be,
playing.
and we have it. That's the
Mm-hmm.
best part, is we have two writers on staff. One actually works for Square Onyx as well. So we have a good writing staff, and we have some backstory that I really would like to share. It's more like, how do we frame it um, so there's enough robust content for each
Yeah.
character. It's going to be, I want to get the gameplay to feel right first,
Mm-hmm.
to have that bot that is that middle line
Mm-hmm.
where it's challenging but not overwhelming.
Okay.
And that's once I get there, then we can start playing around with how do we frame this experience with backstory. How do we transition through different character pairings?
Mm-hmm.
How do these characters interact with each other? um, there's so many games that do this so very
Yeah.
well. So we're going to be doing a lot of research on that, but we don't want to lose track of that single player kind of behavioral component.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to start there and definitely move into expanding and bringing people into the storyline.
I could definitely
That
see that what you're saying now, that you want people to kind of have that wondering, uh, continuous, like, I like this character and I want more. And then you don't want to
Mhm.
release, everything you have in this bucket right away, because then you're like,
Right.
okay, you really like this character. Well, how about you go on an adventure with her now, and you really see why she's even involved with this, or why he's involved with it, and stuff like that. And you really get
Hmm.
this intimate relationship with a person that is like, oh, I'm the best katana player in this game, but this
Right.
is my backstory.
Right.
And so with me saying that, like, what do you see in your game for a competitive field? Like, do you plan on taking it to like a competitive type stage, like esports or VR sports, however they want to say it anymore? Like, do you plan on ever going that direction?
I would love to support a competitive community. I'm really building in a lot of things like rankings, and we're trying to get
Awesome.
that, leaderboard. Uh, I have experience with cloud computing, so I'm setting up our background infrastructure. We've got, individual match tracking, which combos were used inside of each match, and we really
Awesome.
want um, to get into a competitive space like that. You have to pay attention to your balance. And the
Mm-hmm.
balance is what we want to do when we do an early access release is let the floodgates open, because I will never assume to know all the potential exploits.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that us having a robust early access launch
Yeah.
will help us get to a state where competitive esports is more feasible. Um, Definitely a goal, though. I
Yeah,
think
for
this
sure.
is
Awesome.
we're bringing competition to the table. It's like that's what this is. It's a fighting game. We
Mm-hmm.
want people to feel competitive. So anything that we can do to foster that, we'll pursue.
Yeah, I really like that. I think anything like that's a fighting combat where you bring in player versus player, if you can build those early in like ranking systems, I mean that's all
Yeah,
really people care about anymore,
right.
is like the show, like it's kind of like a showboating thing, especially how big Discord's getting lately,
Yeah,
is that you build these communities, and then as the communities get bigger, they strive in, they leak into other VR communities,
yeah,
and which brings people in. And then when they're like, what's this game about, where it's like, look at the gameplay and like look at this awesome scoreboard where you can eventually just be shown up there with the top players.
yes,
And
yeah.
that's
Or
what I
even
really like.
top inside of my this was
Yes,
my
exactly.
main,
Like,
right?
yeah.
Having individualized leaderboards inside of that, I think would be something that would make people feel like, oh, my main may not be the meta breaking best character, but I'm the
Exactly.
best
Mm-hmm.
of this main
Yeah,
character
exactly.
out there. I think would definitely vibe with a lot of people, especially at that like intimate relationship with your main.
Yeah.
uh yeah, I also have this I have a plan to launch with a tournament mode where it is a 1v1 format, but you can do a round robin pairing and have like a private tournament and just say
Awesome.
like, oh, this is me and my six streamer pals, and we're going to really show it who is boss today, right? And have like a round robin matchup and let people spectate
Mm-hmm.
fights, because it's a very physically strenuous activity to
Oh, it
most
sounds like
VR
it. It sounds
games.
like it. It almost sounds like a
Um,
game that I'm going to be drenched in sweat in when I get to play
yeah,
it. Like a lot of hand
there's a lot of
movement.
energy, a lot of energy. And so I want to give people a way to have a break in
Mm-hmm.
between, other than just say stop matchmaking. Like I want to see people enjoy watching other people play and maybe learn some tricks just from seeing, two other people do it a different way.
Yeah.
Um, so we're really trying to encourage that kind of like uh, watchability, and especially for streamers, we've got a focus on the live software
Mm-hmm.
integration so that
Okay.
you can green screen in or
Okay.
avatar in your own body, and we can disable the character player model so that it's not over rendering, not double rendering. I think Pop One had a big issue with that
Really?
because they had a character model and it would interfere with anyone attempting to stream with a green screen or as their favorite avatar,
Mm-hmm.
because you get the double overlay of the character model from the game.
Yeah, and I've only seen one person in Population 1 that would actually use a full body avatar. Other than that, the only thing you ever see with that is if someone puts on one of the haptic suits. They like to pretty much, they have a side thing that's green screen that shows you where the haptic suit's working on the actual physical body
Yeah,
and stuff.
and we will launch with bHaptic
Oh,
support,
really? Awesome.
because the way the game works, knowing when you are impacted
Mm-hmm.
is so crucial to learning whether or not you're blocking correctly. It
Okay,
kind of
yeah,
is
I can
that
definitely see that.
reward
Yeah.
failure system that you I think the bHaptic suit would really make you
Mm-hmm.
feel like, okay, these things have
Yeah,
weight
for
and
sure.
are coming at me.
So you said that for the haptic suit would really work. So if you don't, have that, do you have some type of indication, left, right, like you've been hit here, like something flashes certain directions
Yeah.
of your eyes to show you that you've been hit?
Yeah, we're doing as much as we can auditory, um, to have that kind of a, the pain flash screen, but not too much. It's a
Mm-hmm.
balance.
Yeah.
Yeah, but definitely what we did is we have haptics on successful block. So that's kind of like, oh, I felt it hit my sword,
Mm-hmm.
or I didn't and it came through. Now I can put the haptics here, but a player with just the hands would still know that they did not block
Yeah.
because they did not feel it connect.
So how's the health bar looking on it? Is like a generic, like you got 100% health and it decreases almost like how like a Tekken game would work or
Yeah.
anything like that. So how do you
So
know when
we
you're about to
we
like?
had huge debates over how the health bar should appear, and
Mm-hmm.
we still kind of do, but we have gone with a bit more of the RPG nameplate
Okay.
style, where it's floating directly above
Mm-hmm.
that character. So I'm in the fight, I can look over and see it, I know where it is, and mine is actually offset a little forward, so I can just
So
look up and
you can actually
see
see yours then too.
my health here.
Mm-hmm.
The face mounted ones just didn't feel very good. Um, and we are going to have a spectator camera. So if you are not a live green screen streamer, but you'd like to stream the game, we have a perspective spectator camera for streamers who are simply playing and don't want to show the in camera,
Mm-hmm.
in visor camera. Um,
But that's only for PC VR though, right? Like, can Oculus wouldn't be
yeah.
able to do that though?
Not the Quest, but we are looking at Quest support. I don't know if we're going to be able to get that in our initial release,
Yeah.
but I know that it's such a big community, and we think that having no cords to wrap yourself up is
Mm-hmm.
going to really be an advantage.
For
So
sure.
we would like to get onto Quest as soon as possible, but you know how it is these days
Mm-hmm.
with side Quest and kind of having to do that whole marketing and get it out, and then maybe you get onto the Quest store. It's a new kind of way of vetting
Yeah.
game.
And I really
But
wish that SideQuest. I really like SideQuest just because you get to try out games that haven't really been mainstream to the Oculus Store. Because like a lot of people that are younger generations that aren't just reading articles or watching things like this, they really don't know that there's a whole entire another world of stuff that you can download, especially with AirLink being
yeah.
a thing, or just taking your USB-C cord and plugging it into a computer and downloading SideQuest or
Hmm.
Steam or anything like that for PC VR. And there's some really great games out there. Like
Hmm.
your game that's going to be coming out. Like I know it's in alpha stage, right? And that's what you're going to be pushing it
Hmm.
out as that. But seeing those, like there's like a day that I know that eventually I'm going to do like a Wednesday random game stream and just like download SideQuest games and just play them.
Yeah.
That sounds so much fun just to get
Yeah.
the word out and then maybe write an article about it. Just get the name out. Like it should be
Yeah.
bigger. But the one downfall is that when you download games like that on SideQuest, they are on your for Oculus. You do not have to stream it through your PC to have your PC if you don't have a strong enough computer. It doesn't have to handle the weight. It's still
Right.
there. It's still a downloadable thing, but you have to update it yourself when they have new updates. You got to watch out for that. And it doesn't show it as a noticeable game. You have to go into like your random.
Dig.
Yeah, you have to dig.
Yeah, you gotta dig.
Mm-hmm.
I get you.
Yeah, and I just think that if you are not technically kind of savvy, which a lot of people aren't, a lot of people just they browse the internet and they get on TikTok. That's all they do. Yeah. And then
it's easy.
Yeah, because it's easy. But yeah, you just got to hit that down button right there, and it's right there, and the game works great. Like I didn't know this at all until I met Ben from like Vertical Shift, and he's the one that really introduced me to SideQuest. And I'm just like, oh, I didn't know this was a thing. I'm like, this is awesome. So,
but I would also mention, it's interesting. PC VR has a lot of content on Steam that has a lot of difficulty getting out. Like I don't know that Steam is attempting to make it hard. It just is really hard to see quality PC VR games. And I really would like that not to be. I'd like to, I wish it knew that I had VR and put that crap on the front. Like, I want to see
exactly
other VR games and what is good and fresh and new.
Exactly.
And I feel like Oculus, their store, their front page hasn't changed in a decade, like however long it's been.
Yeah.
It seems like they've been showing the same 4 games when you launch up Oculus.
Yeah, and it really stinks because
Larsenauts,
they just had a discount, which I know from their $30 initial price that was there was kind of unappealing to a lot of people, especially kids that are above the 13 age range. Their mom's not going to fork up $30 to play some VR game. Well, it went 20% off, and it was never featured on the mainline stream store. It was just, I think it was like some Zombieland game right now. It's like,
yeah, and I'd love to see more of that type of promotions making it up to at least the people with VR. Like, it just would be nice to see Steam and even Oculus just really kind of cycle their content more, and bring more of those side quest games onto.
Yeah, and so why don't they? Is there not a thing coming out within the next month that they are going to have some type of better connector with SideQuest? For that?
I feel like I've heard remnants of this. I couldn't comment on it.
Yeah, I think I just heard it in the crosswind. I'll have to ask someone that is in there, but I'll definitely get back to you because I feel like I've heard something about this, that it's going to be easier for getting updates and it's going to get pushed out. And if you have to first do the initial download from there, but then it's a better connection, especially if you're using the experimental AirLink thing, right? So you can go ahead, like when you made your game and stuff, you can push it straight to Steam. You don't have to use some other side thing for PC VR.
We haven't yet pushed to Steam.
Okay.
But as I understand it, it uses the same channels. I haven't seen anything that requires me to install, because a lot of the Steam VR stuff is inside of Unity packages that is already on the other side of the build. By the time I push it, get to the Steam Works upload.
So how are you right now, like building kind of like a fan base right now with about to go to alpha? Like, how are you getting the word out? Because I know that your Discord, it has a good number of people in it that are eagerly waiting for the game. So how did you even get that? How can more people find you? How are you pushing out that?
Right. So I've been doing a lot of campaigning on Twitch, but my early campaigning was very much focused at finding people interested in helping to develop the game further. And I found this community of streamers called Fever. Freak VR is in that community.
Okay.
There's several other prominent streamers, Gordy Kegs and a few others that are all part of this community. And I've been kind of building more of a relationship with who I think will help me the most to get the word out, which is the streamers.
Yeah.
Someone who can put themselves inside the game with the green screen and truly make it fly. I need those people first,
Yeah.
because each one of them is worth dozens of eyes,
Mm-hmm.
right? And potentially hundreds of eyes on the product. And so if I can make them happy and then they get other streamers to do the same, it's kind of a newer marketing strategy. It's not what I'm familiar with,
Yeah.
but it's definitely more fun
I bet
because
so.
they get
Like, because you get to see people play it firsthand, and
right.
but do you think there's any risk factor allowing people to be like, hey, you're a streamer, I want you to play my game. Obviously, you're going to be playing a very base alpha stage, and you're pushing it to the masses that watch you. Um, is there any like risk of it, like something happening in the game that would find someone it unpleasurable for somebody, or get the wrong
Right.
outlook because it's out at alpha stage, or do you kind of make sure that before they play this, they kind of have like some type of warning, like, hey, this is pre-base build, don't, this is going to only get better from here type thing?
Yeah, I have everyone kind of mention it that it is a game in progress,
Mm-hmm.
at least in its
That's
current
good.
state. But what I've been trying to do is iterate outside of the streaming visibility,
Mm-hmm.
right? Just work with the people who plan to play so that we know everything is working clean, and also having the knowledge that it never goes perfectly,
Yeah.
and not stressing about that,
Mm-hmm.
and trying to have fun with it, but polish, right?
Yeah, for
And I
sure.
think we just got a second round of funding. So this is all kind of stuff that we have been able to accrue on our own. Um, so I'm hoping that we're actually able to get this to launch without a Kickstarter, which would that would just be the way I'd like to do it,
Yeah.
is be able to take my time and not get too distracted advertising for
Mm-hmm.
a Kickstarter
Yeah.
to advertise for the game. You know, it's a little cleaner this way. No shade on anyone who's doing their own
Yo,
Kickstarter.
yeah, definitely I
It's
get
a
that. Yeah,
wonderful
for
way.
sure. Yeah,
Yeah,
Kickstarters are a good way to like really get the hype up, but like I do a couple Kickstarters for like some app games, especially like I really like it. But the one thing is that if I do have some things against like it, just because I sometimes get screwed over. Sometimes it
yeah,
never happens, and I have
yeah,
had that, and it's just like you lose like $100. You're just like, wow, they just stopped doing the game, and it's just like,
yeah.
what do I do? Like my money's gone now, whatever. But you tried to make it go to a good cause. But I do know you mean by the thing for like a stream team. Like even I'll have to give some information to you when this podcast is over. I'm part of VR and Pancakes,
Hmm.
and they're a stream team, and they have a lot of PC VRs that would probably do the
Yeah.
same thing and help you out with it.
Yeah, because we want to make it fun and, getting their initial impression, because then they can get hyped and
Hmm.
excited and bring that energy to the table when we're closer to launch.
Yeah, and there's a weird look. I think I talked about this on my last podcast. Is that there's a game coming out called Zenith. Have you heard of it? It's almost gonna be like a Destiny game. It's gonna be an open world type format. You go fight MMO type thing. But the way they're doing it, they're also an alpha stage, and they got this crazy hype of people because instead of doing the Kickstarter model, they're doing it more like how VR Magazine doing their model. It's all through Patreon, and they bring these people in as stages within their Discord, and you get certain perks for $5 as a supporter, $10 as a player, and then
Hmm.
$20 you get like a game like the shirt when the game comes out type deal. And they have
Interesting.
masses of people that come to these discords being part of this Patreon that see the vision, and they get it, they know it's already alpha, and they start building a
Right.
community based off of that. And you also get kind of reoccurring money that you initially wouldn't get at the very beginning in alpha stage, and
Hmm.
that's
Hmm.
kind of what hurts some people, is that it takes a year to 2 years to make this game.
It
Well,
takes time.
even a dollar, saying, hey, you're a supporter, a dollar, you get to see
Yeah.
all of these pre-builds, you get to be part of this great image that I have, and I want you to
Yeah.
be part of it. And I thought, I'm just like, why is that's such a great model? Like whoever did that,
Hmm.
hey, clap to them.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Instead, yeah, because the Kickstarter model can be a little rough at times.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I'm really excited because we also have like an album's worth of music to provide. So I'd love to have that as like a digital copy of the album to go along
That'd be
with
awesome.
whatever tier.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And you can
yeah,
think of the tiers. You can tell like they have like the album because I know a lot of people go out of their way sometimes when they like the Transformer movie.
mhm,
Even though they got bigger names beyond that, but then you can tailor your album to have that Transformer thing on there, and it's like
right.
like
It's
like
nice
that,
to have.
like the
Yeah.
guy who produced the music for you, right? Like that just
Hmm.
gives him more credibility. That it's like, hey, this is his music. You can have his information, and it goes out
Yeah.
further. And it's just a great build of community on that.
Exactly. And I don't know if you know, there's another artist that I follow closely who did a video game indie soundtrack. Um, it was Aesop Rock.
Uh huh.
From I think he was bigger in the early 2000s, mid maybe 2010 era. But he made a game with Freedom Finger. I mean, he made a album with
Mm-hmm.
Freedom Finger, and it's just fantastic. It's this really nice mix of hip hop and vibes from the game
Mm-hmm.
and telling a story, because there's so many you have so much of an opportunity to set these tones
Yeah,
in
for
hip
sure.
hop that I think a lot of people are recognizing now as a storytelling
Mm-hmm.
platform.
Yeah, like anything when like a bass drops or something elevates or you speed up anything, you can tell that there's action happening. Like say you're getting towards
Mhm.
the end of your health in the game and all of a sudden things start slowing down and making it more lively like, hey, like I got to get out of this like or I'm going to end up
Absolutely.
losing the match. And I could totally see that. I love when the music like almost you're playing the game and it gives you like a goosebump feeling like it makes your hair stand
Mhm.
up because it's real, it elevates thing. They don't put like weird scratching noises in a horror movie for no reason. It
Right.
gets your blood elevated, it gets you kind of like something's about to happen.
Yeah. And it's funny because even in the horror games, you get that negative space
Mm-hmm.
where they will like turn down ambient sound. So you get this
For
like
sure.
vacuum of action, and then they can pop something out of that, lull that they've created. And so when things get quiet is when I get worried.
It's always the quiet thing. It's always someone like if
Yeah.
you have like children or people that have children, it's like if you don't hear them anymore, they're doing something wrong. They're in it.
Yeah.
It's like you're just like
Yeah.
I haven't heard them. It's been like 30 minutes. Next thing you know, you go in there and I've seen like just to put an image in people's head is like when the baby had baby powder, just like shooting it down his diaper and just putting it everywhere. It's like what are you doing?
Yeah. Clearly you were not making any noise because
Yeah.
you knew this was wrong.
Hey, for sure. Yeah, I could totally understand that. It's really awesome that he liked the game and he was just like, I'll do this.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't wait. Is it in your Discord already? Kind of the music
Yes.
player. I'm gonna have to go in there and listen to it.
So yeah, if you go to the audio section, or I can DM it to you because I
Mhm,
don't know that the full album is in the Discord
mhm.
yet. But I can send you a copy at least of what we have right now.
Awesome.
We're still polishing a little bit of some of the stuff, but yeah, you should take a listen to it. I think it's gonna impress you. I think
Really?
that the music
So is it
is
just bass or is there actually any lyrics in it?
So we have 5 tracks with lyrics. We
Mhm.
have a dozen songs. So we have about 6 instrumentals and 5 tracks with lyrics.
Awesome.
And I think Mask Up is currently our kind of theme me
Okay.
kind of, our front runner.
I can't
So
wait to.
check that
Yeah,
one out.
I'll definitely. They might be your front runner, huh? Like it might be
Yeah.
like your trailer.
Yeah, well, it has an interesting vibe because it's the concept is, putting on your mask, and that fits to the VR scope, that fits a lot to the
Yeah.
pandemic stuff we've been dealing with.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
so, yeah, I
I like
think
that
you I
relation. Yeah.
think you'll find to be a really interesting track. And what's funny is it's, my first pass with the music that my producer created, I was at first like, man, this is kind of slow. I don't know if this is going to play in a
Mm-hmm.
fighting game. But really that was kind of our original vision, was to capture that samurai champloo, like
Mm-hmm.
really lo-fi hip hop
Yeah. Okay.
kind of vibes underneath of intense sword fighting violence, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like the way that offsets, I think, Afro Samurai, another great example
Mm-hmm.
of that audio tone
Yeah.
of kind of quiet, like,
Definitely.
a intentional kind of a vibe.
Yeah, because this game is actually based in the future, right?
Yeah, it's got a cyberpunk main theme, hence cyberpunks.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but we wanted to explore kind of some of different angles. Like our first level right now is in a rural
Okay.
cyberpunk. What, not an urban cyberpunk. What does the farms and the mountains area look like in a cyberpunk world, and try to
Yeah.
play around with um, some of those themes. But Japan, it's like it's a cyber ninja game, so we've been theming pretty hard with our first level, but we want to be more of an international kind of a
Mm-hmm.
world building game. So we've got an Egyptian character, we have a Russian character, we currently have a Dominican
Okay.
character. So we're really trying to have that Street Fighter all over the world kind of vibes, um, but in the future, right? Instead
Yeah.
of,
And so those
now how do these
characters that
work?
you're making, right? They're already picked their weapon. Like, do you get to pick your character and then pick your weapon, or is the character has his certain weapon?
Yeah.
Okay.
So when you pick a character that assigns, they have an assigned weapon,
Mm-hmm.
a combo list that goes with the weapon
Yeah,
shape.
you're telling me that. Yeah, that's
Um,
awesome.
the combos will have tailored rewards.
Mm-hmm.
So the axes being slower and heavy have the strong
Okay.
reward in the combos, as you kind of start to learn and see how the
Mm-hmm.
combos work, because each character has a different pattern. And then they all have a unique ultimate weapon.
Yeah.
So
Did
those
they pull it
also,
out? Did
so it's a burst of shield and
Okay.
an animation transformation,
Okay.
a very
Awesome.
quick one because you're kind of still in the
Yeah.
motions.
Yeah, I was wondering how that was happening. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a quick transition, but we did want to provide a bit more depth to the fighting styles of a single character.
Mm-hmm.
So with our Saber's characters, it's two single-bladed weapons that join back to back to become like a large double-edged broadsword.
Yeah.
That would be
Awesome.
kind of the ultimate form. With the daggers, we have two double-edged, smaller weapons. One is actually held in reverse grip, right? So the blade is kind of pointed down,
Mm-hmm.
and I've got this one pointed up and this one kind of coming down. Then the ultimate is actually like a Darth Maul pole arm
Okay.
with blades on each side, and now you're kind of uh, cutting with a blade on each edge, and it's much faster.
Okay.
Um,
That's awesome.
so the combos are meant to
Mm-hmm.
encourage you to kind of spin things around and hit from the same side several times.